You're welcome to this lecture. My name is Ssebuyungo Wilber Kivekayunga, a lecturer at Nkumba University and Managing Director of the Action Entrepreneurs. I am going to focus on philosophy and mainly looking at education concepts with philosophy. I concentrate on lecturing foundational courses, entrepreneurship and management within Nkumba University, and you can contact me on wsebuyungo@nkumbauniversity.ac.ug or contact me on that number that is displaying. I also work with the Action Entrepreneurs where we do planning and management and also do education and consultancy and economic and social international development. So for us here, we're going to focus today on the meaning of philosophy. Philosophy has been defined by several scholars, but we need to really unearth the originality of philosophy. Philosophy actually starts from imagining the occurrences, so making philosophical inquiries that draw clarity to what we ought to be or what ought to be and what should be is very crucial. So philosophy actually seeks to find why are things happening the way they are and why they will do happen the way they will and why they happened the way they happened. So that in philosophy we really focus on the philosophical inquiries so that we have a key foundation of knowledge and wisdom that forms a basis for improving and advancing what we think, what we speak, and actually what we do. So it is from philosophy that we are challenged to seek for much more of the hidden treasures or much more of what is the physical resources that we have in our communities, and also keep questioning ourselves of the soft knowledge that we have, and then question it to see that there is improvement on the knowledge that we even have. Even wisdom is questionable, and wisdom can be questioned, and then understanding or can also be questioned, and inquiries can be made about why people perceive some ideas some way and why not the other way, and which ideas actually form the basis of upon which other ideas actually keep on ascending and adding on to. So this draws us into in-depth thinking and in-depth actions about what we do. Every philosophical question prompts an idea and a thought that one can need to add to another thought so that we form a pattern of thoughts which would be applied in some way to solve our current challenges and the challenges that ought to happen. So it is a philosophy that keeps on asking key questions about occurrences. So philosophy is the mother of all sciences, and so we see that all fields of sciences are as a result of making and asking questions and seeking to know what is ought to be, and then what will actually be applying, and trying to create a relationship between creation, what's the relationship between light and then air, and the relationship between plants and animals, relationship between air and plants, light and plants, and then light and air, the relationship between land and people, the relationship between people, and the relationship between various forms of forces and energy. So here in philosophy, we are actually seeking for an interconnection between creation, that one needs to extract the knowledge about creation so that you're able to create an interconnection and intertwining the insights that you have about the occurrences and about existence of things and about what we see, and actually also question about what we do not see with our eyes. So this is what we can actually do, and we can do much little if we don't imagine, reason, or interrelate, contrast, or differentiate, and even integrate and make some inquiries that can improve or cause disputes between ideas to advance them. So we are able to imagine and able to reason and create an interrelation between concepts or between even ideas because of philosophy. So we cannot be able to contrast and differentiate things or even bring them together through an integration if we actually do not go through philosophy to keep making and seeking and making inquiries on how things come to be and how things ought to be or how they connect with one another. So it is a philosophy that will enable us to make sure that what we do can actually be improved through making more inquiries and making more deep thoughts that can actually draw us to advance what we do. So philosophers are not settled, they are not only wise, but they also impart knowledge. So being wise is not enough, but also seeking to impart the knowledge that we have is very crucial. So what the philosophers do is to seek diligently to find the most appropriate design and a set of concepts. So they come up with this design and set of concepts which which these concepts are actually interweaved and set in order, creating a sequence, one following another, to come up with the results. So philosophers seek to set in order many meaningful principles through philosophical inquiries and coming up with a set of ideas that are thought to be and are define how people should actually behave and how people should actually practice their daily activities to be able to come up with the proper solution. So these thoughts that are packaged as philosophies have greater meanings on effect and on affecting the current operations of people and even the operation between people and creation. So it is very central to find just the right words to be used, and the words that philosophers use and the actions they take are actually tested with various inquiries and various philosophical seeking to make sure that they are just upright and true for solving a phenomena. So philosophers actually are seeking for words and a set of action to be taken so that they are upright and true for solving a certain phenomena. And when these thoughts are packaged together, they form theories or philosophies that when people think that way and follow that pattern of thoughts, then they come up with some results some way. So philosophy is a reflection that wisdom is not conclusive, that we cannot now sum up wisdom and conclude that all that we have today or all that they had in the past years is enough or is conclusive and adequate. So philosophy, because philosophy is a continuous and a dynamic event in a life, so a person should keep continuing to inquire, seek out, and imagine or do conduct more reflections to come up with another pattern or an alternative pattern of thought that can improve what we see today or improve even items or thoughts or even knowledge itself, or create another pattern of wisdom that improves the life that we are in today. So knowledge is inexhaustible. So we cannot exhaust knowledge and say now we have reached the brim of knowledge that we do not need much more or even more. So the things that we saw thousands of years back and they were relevant today, they have continuously been refurnished and redefined and even refined because of philosophical inquiries. So every question that philosophy raises can bring about an improvement or a redefinition of a concept, so that the world challenges are actually solved. So we create these philosophies through seeking, making inquiries, questioning what exists and what ought to actually exist. So what can we see is because so what we cannot see today is because of our own limitations, which philosophy tends to unwrap and block those channels that actually limit man from making an extended and a deeper extraction of knowledge and wisdom that improves the lifestyles of today and improves the systems, methods, and approaches that we have today. So here you will see that philosophy is the mother of all sciences, and therefore all fields of art are born out of philosophy. We are now going to concentrate on the concept of education. But before we look at the concept of education in relation to philosophy, I would like to actually draw you a little back here, that philosophy actually comes from two words that make up philosophy. One, the word philor stands for in Latin, means a quest. Actually, if you want to summarize the word phileo, you can translate it into what we call love. In Latin, philo directly means love, and Sophia, the other word is Sophia, which translates to wisdom. So this means that man's quest for wisdom is philosophy. So the definition of philosophy can be translated into man's love for wisdom, and we can also add the other aspect of knowledge. So man's love for wisdom and the knowledge is what we call philosophy. So everyone that has love, then that person has interest, or which interest is what we call quest. So when you have interest and have a quest, so that quest is actually what we call love. So love draws a person to start questioning or to seek to know, to seek to get a practice, to seek to test for how things should be and how things ought to be, so that we come up with what is what is hidden is actually uncovered. So we discover some concepts, not because they are not in existence, but they are in existence, but because of the limitation that we have as people, we cannot actually get to know unless we seek out, unless we make inquiries, and unless we are prompted to have that heart of let me go out and see and seek to get to the wisdom that we desire. So the moment the person is drawn in a situation where you need to step out or to seek out and get to the concepts of knowledge and wisdom to improve systems, methods, improve patterns of action, and improve behavior or reasoning, where you see logic. We shall be studying later about the branches of philosophy. So all those aspects you see, you'll be if it comes to philosophy, then it will become very easy for you to actually be able to apply philosophy in our day-to-day activities as an educator. So without philosophy, knowledge becomes stagnated, and without philosophy, wisdom is stalled and becomes stagnant instead of being dynamic, as we have been discussing before. So to keep improving what is happening in the world, then it requires that a scholar or an educator comes up to start seeking out for ways of improving in terms of reducing time, reducing the time you spend to do an activity, and as well as reducing the, 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 the amount of resources that you need to invest in order to come up with the outcomes, but to make sure that there is efficiency, there is effectiveness in what we see, and actually also unveiling facts and the truth that of matters. That is what will actually be drawing you to be a better and better philosopher. So our philosophers are not far away from us. We are philosophers if we actually program our minds and start organizing our behavior and discipline to be able to start seeking out for wisdom and the practice of things to make life better and solving our day-to-day problems. So when we start going that direction, remember that when philosophy asks a question, then research picks up this question to go ahead to start investigating, and then when research brings results, philosophy again asks questions in those results. Then the person who is going to go to do research goes back to improve or to make more findings, so that when it comes back again, philosophy asks questions. So philosophy asks questions until something better is actually developed. So without philosophy, then research becomes harder, because research actually begins from, yes, when you identify a problem, then you need to ask a question, objectives which are question driven or hypothetical driven, which are all propelled by philosophy. So in this session, I would like us to focus on the sense of education in relation to its etymological sense. So what is education itself? Etymologically, what does education mean? So when we study about etymology, the concentration of etymology, the word etymology means originality of words. So the study of originality of words is etymology. So the word education comes from two Latin words. The first Latin word is educere and the other educare. So when you study deeply about education, these two words must be at your core and fingertip. One cannot master education, especially if one does not master the original meanings of the word education. So the word education comes from two core words, the educere and educare. The word educere means to bring out, which is connected to another, bring up. So that means that education is intended to bring out the value of a person and any creature undergoing it. So any person undergoing education is expected to be brought up. So if there is an educator and is actually engaging a learner to educate, then the educator seeks to bring out and bring up what is within this person. The core of education is to bring up, not to bring down. So bring up so that what is not seen can be seen, and what is of less value can be of more value, and what is not of use can be of great usefulness. So education actually means to make sure that you bring up and not to bring down. So any endeavor that is intended to bring down the life of the person and stagnate it, or even create a decline in the perspectives, and a decline in creativity, a decline in innovation, or a decline in self-perception and the perception of the world, is not education, because education is bringing up and bringing out. So it is upwards in terms of raising in direction. It is from bottom to top, so that the person is guided to be inclining other than declining. So the other word educare means to bring forth. Bringing forth, which is literally connected to the other word to lead. So education also means to bring forth and to lead a person. So leading is to give a direction that focuses on moving towards what is better. So if life of a learner is not guided to the direction of what is better, then that learner has not been sufficiently guided. You can see that leading gives a map and draws contours to be taken to reach a destination full of potential and great achievement. So if you are guiding a person and creating a direction, it's like you're mapping life and drawing contours so that life reaches a destination which destination reveals the potential of a person and creates great achievement in the life of the person. So education cannot be separated from leadership, because education literally means to lead and to bring forth a person. So ordinarily, education leads life to where it wants to be, and of course this is widely dependent on the agenda and the intention of those who are designing education. So education will always be leading people towards some destination, depending on the interest of the people who are designing the education curriculum and the content of education. So education widely depends on the intentions of people designing it. This is the effect of education. Education can be organized to bring up, but also can be organized to bring down. That's the sensitivity we have with the power of education. So when education brings down, then it is called mal-education or miseducation. When education brings up, then that is what we call education. We don't need to add on the word proper education. So what is not bringing up, then it is miseducation or mal-education, just like you would have malnutrition. So education can be designed to lead or to mislead, and people who are involved in education should be very highly sensitive about this, because you can lead life or mislead it. Education can add value to people and can also subtract value from them or devalue them. So that's why you can have education that can build deliberately the concept of self-inadequacy, and you can also have education that deliberately builds self-adequacy and sufficiency. So the people who come out of it can feel they are inferior, while others, if they are exposed to another set of education, can actually get a sense of superiority. So education can enslave people depending on how it is designed, and can also set them free depending still on the intentions of the designer. Education can close people's creativity and bind it and make people bound in creativity. But education, on the other side, can also be designed to open their creativity depending on the intentions of the people still designing it. So the value and the relevance of education cannot exceed those planning and implementing it. So the planners and implementers of education have the intention within which education has got to oscillate and rotate. So when the intentions are upright and are intended to build a just, productive, and orderly people, then it does so. But when education is intended to make an unjust population unproductive and disorderly people, that one is disorderly, not orderly, then education will now make unjust, unproductive, and disorderly people in the community. So then it cultivates such values, skills, and knowledge to the people, making them unproductive but going through education, and making them disorderly but going through education. And all this is dependent on how education itself has been prepared by the people behind it. They could be curriculum designers or method designers or even implementers at the district or the state level, or even at classroom level. So it can even be in society. So anybody involved in curriculum designing development has to be very sensitive about education. So education is actually about building life, or if it is not construction of life, then it is in destruction of life. So the two can be done by education. One side is education, but the other side is miseducation, but all of them can be under the umbrella of education. So we've got to be very sensitive with education itself. In our conclusion here, we're going to look at the general sense of education. Education, general sense. That's the sense of education generally. Education can be defined in a general sense as any endeavor or any endeavor that transmits values, knowledge, and skills from one person to another, but can also be from one generation to another generation. So education is not complete until the three constituents of values, which means affection, knowledge, which is cognition, and the skills, which is psychomotion, are built up in a person. So a person is never complete until these three aspects of values, which is the affection, the knowledge, which is a cognition of the mind, and the skills, which is psychomotion, which means the mind moving together with the whole body to have something productive and useful to produce in terms of services and products to put up. Then that person is built up as a complete person or a whole person. So when we expect that the whole person will have values which are affection in the heart, and then knowledge, which is cognition in the mind, and the skills, which is psychomotion of the whole body movement. So then people receiving education should be able to have a sense of values such as justice, mercy, kindness, love, considerateness, and you can also add much more. So those values should be cultivated deliberately in education to bring about quality and social peace and harmony in communities, and that cohesion that we actually desire to have in communities. Then education should also have knowledge which makes the people aware about creation, forces, energy, and the power that is in the world, so that people are aware that when I place this one here, it can roll and fall on people, or it can, when I place this here, it will produce something. So that awareness of knowledge in cognition in the mind makes people alert and informed of what is happening around them, and what is happening within them, and what is happening on them. So then when people get knowledge and now they are aware and informed, then they also need to have skills. So the skills are the practice of knowledge and the values. So that is why you see psychomotor, which means the soul moving the body, or the mind governing the motion of the body. That means that knowledge and values form a body of principles that are concrete, that can guide the practice, which we call skill. So the practice of knowledge and values is what builds skills. So it is until people are able to translate the values and the knowledge into practice that they will be able to get to the level of being skilled. So enabling them to convert what they know into real products and services is what we are actually labeling as a skill. It skills don't only mean being able to do carpentry, being able to do weaving, or even be able to pound or do those physical activities that we see, but also extend to the skills of speaking, the art of accounting, the art of writing, the art of doing of delivering activities that are not necessarily products, which we are actually labeling here as services. So we have services which are intangible, and we also have products which are tangible, but all these require having skills, because skills are actually tactics, which are also, all skills in the world are soft. They are not hard skills. All skills, whether they are produced for producing products or services, are all soft skills. So because we can't touch a skill, we cannot see a color of a skill. When you find someone is a carpenter and is moving on the street, you cannot say he's a carpenter, because a skill is there, but it is in the person, it is there in the mind, it's there in the heart, it's there in the hands, it's there in the whole body, but it's the person is there. So you cannot also tell that this person is a driver unless the person is actually given a car or a motorbike to drive. So in conclusion here, we cannot actually only conclude and say that skills are actually what we see when people are making items which are tangible, but they are also skills of intangible items. So that's what we call which we have packaged here as services. So the results of education, we expect that the person gets fully equipped to serve excellently, and also to produce exceptionally, and to live in an orderly society, a society that has peace, and that peace is caused by the people who have undergone that set of education, whether it is civic or it is education in schools or higher institutions of learning. That education should be able to guide the people to get equipped to serve excellently, to produce exceptionally, and to live in an orderly society. So education is a key contributor to human development, and we see that the person develops in 4 life aspects, and this is mentally, socially, physically, emotionally, and emotionally, so that the person is able to live well and develop community, so that the problems of the community are solved. That is our conclusion for this lecture and this lesson for you. You can visit these lectures on your YouTube account by typing Kivekayunga on your Google account, or Wilber S. Kivekayunga on your Google account. You can also reach out to our email account in case you need an inquiry or any guidance in terms of planning, management, international development, education, and consultancy. And those who may need to actually be able to enroll for any course in Nkumba University, you can also contact me or visit our campus in Uganda at Entebbe main campus at Abaita Babiri, Entebbe, Nkumba University. So thank you for attending this lecture and have a nice day.